Hello everyone, I'm Don Counts. Welcome into Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6. Today we're going to be talking with Miss Maggie Dunivan. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I got to see Maggie at Rotary a few weeks ago, and she was talking about dairy. We have the Future Farmers logo in the back, and we're going to be talking about agriculture today, specifically the dairy industry. And Maggie, tell me a little bit about yourself and your family, and you're a 10th grader at Lincoln County High School.
Yes, sir. So I'm very active within our local 4-H club and Lincoln County FFA. My family, we own a small dairy farm in Petersburg. We live right off the ridge where we are milking around 60 head of registered Holsteins, and our farm is completely Holsteins where it's also family owned and operated. We've been in the same location since 1956, which makes us have a very strong family tradition in our family with the dairy industry.
Very good. So you actually grew up with dairy all around you?
Yes, sir. Ever since I can remember, I've always been at the milk barn, whether it be just little barely walking, being able to go pour out milk to calves or just carry a little bucket of feed. They talk about it all the time. They joke about how they'd sit me in the corner of the milk barn so I wouldn't get stepped on because I wasn't big enough to actually get in there and milk the cows.
Well, the dairy industry has had some serious changes. When I was young, I don't know, I would say there was, a dairy barn in basically every little community from around the entire county. But what about our county now? How's it looking now?
Right now, there's only 3 dairies left in our county.
And what would be your dairy and who else?
We have the Hudson Dairy out in Flintville, and then we have Triple T, which is the Taylor's here in Fayetteville.
Gotcha.
But right now, there's only 3 left in our county and 220 left in our state. All these are very small dairies. They range from just a few head, like our family dairy, to more than 1,300. We're getting some larger dairies in the state, but there's very, very few of those. Okay,
when I was younger, they had like grade A milk barns and grade B milk barns. Do they still have that?
Today we have only grade A.
Grade A.
Grade A, and then everybody has to follow the same inspection rules to keep in their barn very clean and up to state regulations.
But have you heard of grade B before?
I have, but there's something that's going away. I do know that they had a couple in Wisconsin, but most of them sold out this year. Oh. So today you're basically grade A from all over.
Well, let's talk about milk production from the time it leaves the cow to the time it gets to the person's home now. Go through that process.
So to begin the process, you start with cow comfort and feed efficiency. This is where we're going to keep the cow comfortable at all times and make sure she gets everything she needs to keep her body healthy and have optimum milk production. I know on our family farm we do where we feed grain in the barn while she's getting milked. You have to keep a certain protein percentage, and then they have free choice of grass and hay. This is pretty much the same on all dairies. Some do silage, some don't do grain. It's just kind of what works best for your location. And then when it comes to milking the cow, on our farm we have a flat style barn. We hold 6 head with 3 milkers. We'll bring in 6 head of cows, clean 3 of them, and place the milking unit on them. When we clean them, we use a pre-dip that goes on. It's more of a sanitizer where we clean the whole, all 4 quarters and her udder. And then we'll put the milking unit on, it just simply milks her out. We'll do 3 cows like that while we wash the 3 other cows. Once that cow gets done, we pull the milking unit off, put a iodine solution on there. It keeps from future infection, and then we put it over on the other cow.
Let's talk about flat style barn. What does that mean?
Flat style barn is where the milk hand and the cow is on the same level.
Okay, so the guy's got to get down. Now in my day there was a pit where you would actually the cow on the udder was right here.
Yes, sir.
So that's changed. Wonder what's the difference there.
Well, right now the flat style is probably one of the oldest barns out there to use.
Okay.
This barn was built in the 50s, and we're still using it today. We still use glass lines, which is very, very rare. We're one of the very few that use a glass line system. Wow. While today they still do have the pits. They have all types of pits, whether it be herringbone or parallel. And then we're so advanced that we even have carousels that work just like a merry-go-round. And then we got to the point now where we're at robots. We have robotic milkers.
Wow.
So we've changed dramatically over the past years.
Now the glass lines means that you can see the milk?
Yes, you can see the milk from when it leaves the cow to when it enters the bulk tank. And you can see it run through the glass line until it enters that tank.
Wow. All right, so we've got the milk into the tank. Let's move forward with how it gets to the home.
So we're going to have a milk hauler come get the milk on small dairies. It's every other day. And once the milk is pumped through the bulk tank, it's cleaned out every time the milk hauler comes.
So every time the milk hauler gets the milk, then you clean the tank completely.
Yes.
So it's like brand new and you're ready to start over
Yes,
again.
sir.
Now let's talk about something now. Let's talk about some of the things you're talking about, milk hauling regulations. I know you're going to get into that, but I'm sure milk tank trucks are very heavy.
They are. So when it comes to a tanker truck of milk, they haul thousands of pounds of milk at one time. Not only are they just dangerous to drive and have on the road system, it just comes down to also the quality that goes into it. You can only place high quality milk in a bulk tank because that's going for human consumption. They're going to make sure that every farm, according to every company's standard, says that a farm must have a somatic cell count below 450,000.
Wow.
While the state says it can be 750,000, but that's almost just looked over completely because you have to go by what your company says rather than what your state says when it comes to somatic cell count.
Wow.
And
Now what is somatic cell count? What is that exactly?
it's the count of white blood cells within the milk.
Oh, I
and
got
you can test this on an individual cow. It's one way that you can see your somatic cell count score. But on a milk truck, they will take a sample of your milk before they ever load it on the tank to see your individual score. And then once everybody's milk's loaded on, they will take a sample from the whole milk truck tank with everybody's milk combined to test that somatic cell count score of the whole tank.
Yeah, because if the tank truck comes to your barn and gets your milk and then goes to the next barn and gets the next milk, it's all mixed up, so you got
all
to
being
keep
mixed
up with it.
together. So you have to keep it separate, and you have to keep every farm's temperature, their license number, their weights, how much poundage they had that day, and there's multiple things that you must go through and test at every farm for records.
Okay, let's talk about something. What is a cow's body temperature?
The cow's body temperature just kind of fluctuates.
Okay.
I've seen cows have really high temperatures. I've seen some have kind of lower. It just kind of depends. I know a lot right now weather is taking a toll on cows'
Sure.
health because you have this really wet weather versus you may be raining for a week and then it's dry. And then it's very hard for a cow to keep up right now, especially when it comes to their feet. You're watching right now a lot of feet problems because they're walking through so much mud. And then you come into a more udder health. Okay, well there's mud getting on their udders every day. You got to keep it clean. So cows right now, they're kind of battling that health idea. So right now the dairy farmers are just looking at them saying, okay, well this one has feet problems, treat it like this. This one is staying dirty, wash them off every single day. Maybe instead of just washing the udder, maybe you're washing off legs and tails just to keep that extra precaution of health.
Absolutely.
Because right now with cows and all this mud, an older cow, she may be straining a little bit more to get up because she has bigger body and she's older. So her hocks might start to swell. Right now it's just really kind of up in the air on a dairy farmer. Today the cow looks good, tonight she goes out, it's raining, but tomorrow morning she may be a totally different cow.
Sure. Well, when you take about the body temperature of the cow as the milk comes out, it's really, really warm milk, really, and then it cools off pretty quickly. What temperature does it go to when it gets to the tank?
Once it leaves the cow and it goes straight to the bulk tank, it cools down 38 degrees.
Wow.
It's a very quick process.
Oh, is it? Very quick.
It is. From when it leaves the cow to the time it enters the tank is a matter of minutes.
Wow.
It's very minimal.
Wow.
I mean, it's super quick, and it's going from that warm temperature when it comes out to a very 38 degrees.
Wow.
And it's staying in that agitation mode where it's being kind of mixed around in the bulk tank. So we have that perfect temperature throughout the tank.
Sure. And the concept there is it stays that temperature all the way through the process, I'm
Yes,
sure, through
sir.
the plant. So that's a big deal for sure. Well, when we're talking about, and we'll carry it on onto the thing, but I was wanting to ask you some things about there's been a lot of improvements over the years in the dairy industry, and I'm sure you can tell us a whole lot. You've already started some of those for sure.
So one way that we've improved the dairy industry, one of my favorite ways that we've improved is through genetics. I love genetics. I have this passion for genetics, and I love just watching it. Since the dairy industry began here, kind of recently, where we had many farms on every corner. Cows were not producing that much milk, but at the time it seemed like a whole lot. While we have bred cattle, not only to have a better structure, better frame structure, they're taller, they're stronger built, they're a little bit more durable all around, but we're also getting that milk production. Milk production has almost doubled pretty much, where today, the average Holstein cow produces 70 pounds. That's just an average. While you have some more producing 100 pounds a day. And when you see that, you just say that's a very productive cow. It's nothing really overwhelming. It's just a proud, really bred cow.
Let me ask you something. You said the dairy industry, you farmers talk about milk in pounds. What does that? How does that divert in gallons that the public would be more interested in understanding?
A gallon is 8.6 pounds, while a dairy farmer is not paid by the gallon or 8.6 pounds at all. We're paid for every 100 pounds that we sell.
Okay.
So you can even it out to where the average cow producing 70 pounds a day, that equals about roughly 9 gallons a day.
Wow.
It's about the way it evens out.
Well, that's pretty good. 9 gallons of milk for a cow, that's a lot of milk.
It is. It's been a dramatic increase since we began.
Absolutely.
Even though dairy farms are getting smaller, we don't have that many. The size is increasing, but the number is decreasing. But
Right.
the overall look of the dairy cow itself, we're becoming closer and closer to that true model cow. Better feed efficiency.
Is that due to genetics that
It is.
Let's talk a little bit more about genetics and some of the details that the people at home would understand.
Genetics.
Are you looking at it in a positive way? You look at it.
I look at it as a positive way.
Some people don't, as you know.
Some people, it's just more, okay, well, my cow's producing milk, let's just keep going. She gets bred, has a calf, okay, that's good, I hope it's a heifer. While I'm more of the kind that says, okay, well, today genomics is a big thing. And I know that when something's big, you got to get into it now to kind of stabilize the future. Well, I've purchased a cow where she has really good genomics, a very good pedigree, so now I'm breeding her and I'm trying to develop my own little genetic herd of genomics. And that's just basically not what's on the outside of the cow, but what's on the inside that really counts as its future milk production, her feed efficiency, her reproductive. So that's something I'm kind of getting into right now by breeding bulls, getting bulls AI and breeding to her. And then
AI meaning?
Artificial insemination.
Okay.
And then I've always been showing cows. I've showed since I was 3, and I see the show ring as one of the best places to be. And I know that's also an extra market you can get, extra profit. And extra profit can go a long way, especially when you're in high school and you're thinking about college and the future. So by not only just getting show premiums, I try to breed my herd to where I know that I can perform well in the show ring and have an extra profit coming in. And knowing that in the future, if I want to, I can have my own herd of registered Holsteins that are superior in showcase selections. And so I can be able to help other people get in the show ring and have the experience that I've had.
Does your farm only artificially inseminate?
We try to do artificial insemination on everything. But if we have a heifer, sometimes they tend not to stick artificially. We'll breed them to a herd bull.
So you do have a bull?
Yes.
Let's talk about a cow's life. From how long do they live, and what's the life cycle? How many calves can they have?
Well, it kind of depends. Every farm's different. When it comes to looking at the dairy industry, everybody's different. Everybody's unique. On our farm, the cow, she may make it to 4. Some cows may make 4 years old.
Okay.
Some cows may make it, older. We've had them last as long as 12 years.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends. But on our farm, we like for our cows to calve in every year. That means when they're born, they hit the ground, they stay with their mother for almost a week, pull them off, put them on milk. We'll leave them on milk for 60 days or a little bit more, just depending on the size of the calf and the time of year. Move them on out, grow them out. Heifers will start breeding them when they're a little over a year old. we'll start artificial insemination. If that doesn't work, we go straight to herd bull. And we almost have ours cab in when they're 2 years old. All heifers cab in when they're 2, go straight to milk production, and they'll have a calf pretty much every year.
Wow. Well, if you just joined us, I'm talking to Maggie Dunivan, from Lincoln County High School student in 10th grade. There's so many questions I want to ask, and I think I was telling Jennifer Snoddy I didn't know if I could stump you or not, so I don't think I can, and I'm really not trying to. This is very interesting to me. Let's talk about something that we hear a lot on the news today, like antibiotics and hormones in milk. Let's talk, give me your spill on that.
When it comes to everybody saying there's steroids in milk, there's hormones. Well, there's not. I'll say it as a dairy farmer, I know the truth. It's not, because
they're not in there. Okay, so that's good to hear.
I see it as it's just false news, and that we're tested before that milk can ever enter the processing plant for you to consume. They're tested, and if they catch it, they're saying, okay, well, that whole bulk tank, you might as well go dump it out, because we're not accepting it.
So the whole tank would be dumped out
and they will trace it back to the farm, and that farm will have to face the consequences.
Oh, yeah.
So it's traceable, and they know whether it's in there or not, and the processing plant will not allow it at all.
Wow, that's very good. Let's talk about antibiotics. So that's something you have to use in the farm, correct?
It is. You try to avoid it as much as you can. But if you have a cow that comes in, you're not going to sit there and just watch her suffer.
Right.
You're going to say, okay, well, this cow is in bad health. She needs antibiotics. You're going to doctor her, but you're going to pull her out of that bulk tank. You're going to make sure that her milk does not go in that bulk tank at all. During her
antibiotic time. And not only you have an investment in this cow, so you want to try to take care of it, because it does have a life afterward. Just like when we get sick, we want to just throw us out.
It's very similar. When you see that cow, you see her future. And you think, well, I got to get her back to better health, because I know the future that she has. Mm-hmm. So you're going to doctor her, and even after you stop the treatment, you're going to withhold her to make sure her milk is perfectly clean before you ever put her back in. Mm-hmm. And then she's going to continue her life on out.
Okay. Well, from your farm in Petersburg, let's talk about where your milk goes.
So right now, our milk is shipped to Birmingham, Alabama. And we sell to Dean Foods Company down there. It's pretty much the only place you can sell in the Southeast. Okay,
so it's going to wind up being in the grocery in a gallon jug? Is that where it'll be?
Yes, sir. The milk down there, it has multiple labels. It does not just say Dean Foods.
I got you.
Dean Foods owns multiple companies. There's lots of companies that they own. So it goes under different labels, and it goes to different stores just depending on where you are.
Well, let's talk about the new processing plant and how that affects the dairy industry. And the older generation, even older than me, they did something to milk to make it, well, I forget what it's called.
Homogenization, pasteurization.
Yeah, that was way back, but that really made the milk industry and make make it last. Is that what it did? What does that do exactly? And say it what it is again, because I couldn't say it.
Homogenization and pasteurization. With those two processes put together, milk has a longer shelf life, and milk, if it's straight out of the cow and you let it sit, it's kind of going to separate. But going through those processes, it's what allows it to be all kind of mixed up, busting the fat molecules, and it allows it to just be milk and not separate into its particles.
Very good, very good. So what's changed today? What's some of the new processes? Or is it basically the same?
We're keeping the same processes. It's just our plants is what's changing.
Oh, okay.
We've had some plants shut down in the Southeast because Walmart opened their new processing plant in Fort Worth, Indiana, of June 2018.
Oh, Walmart has their own milk production.
Yes. So Walmart used to buy milk from Dean Foods. However, they decided to quit that process. Mm-hmm. And with Dean Foods having all these large dairies and small dairies, they had all this milk that Walmart did not need, and they had nowhere to go with it. Wow. So it left them to one decision, and that was in March. They was getting ahead of when the plant opened. They said, okay, well, we have all this extra milk. We can meet our new demand with these large dairies. The small dairymen don't really need them. Mm-hmm. So they lost contracts with 100 small dairymen in 8 states in March. They gave them a letter that stated after 90 days they will no longer be purchasing their milk. Mm-hmm. And a small dairyman anywhere, especially in the Southeast, You just can't say, okay, well, they quit buying my milk, I'll just go sell somebody else, because that's not how it works. After you're cut off, you're pretty much cut off, because small dairies are spread miles apart now because there's not one in every corner, and milk hauling becomes an issue because a hauler can only get so many cows to go to so many farms to go to one plant.
Wow.
So it's very difficult right now.
Well, let's talk about Tennessee dairies today. Like I said, they're not everywhere, but do they have a lot in Tennessee or across the state?
We have 220 left in the state. There's small dairies, just a couple head here and there, milking, using it as a lifestyle to get by because it's their family tradition. While we have farms, it's 1,300 head or more, a very big operation. But there's very few of those through the state. Most of them in Tennessee is your small family dairies where they've done this for years and generations, and they're keeping it up today.
That's very good. Well, the family tradition of today's small farms, as you were talking about, again, we got your family and 2 other families in Lincoln County. Do you know where their milk goes, by the way? Really?
I do know that it just kind of depends. Milk haulers that we're on different routes, it seems like some of them, it just really depends because I know that we're not on the same milk truck, so it's kind of different to know where everybody goes.
Well, let's talk about with milk consumption decrease with milk production increase. What's your point there?
Well, when it comes to milk consumption, it's decreased 37% since 1975.
Is that because these people you hear more and more people who are saying they're lactose intolerant?
They're lactose intolerant, or they have a problem against the dairy industry because it has steroids and hormones. Well, there's a solution to all those 3 problems I just named off. 1, steroids and hormones, not in milk, so that's not really a good reasoning.
Not a problem.
Well, if you say you're lactose intolerant, there's actually a new way. It's unavailable in the southeast, but it's available in the northeast. It's this new milk called A2A2.
It's called say it again?
A2A2.
8282, okay.
So with this milk, it's where we took out a certain protein in the cow's milk. These cows are bred and they're called a beta casein A2A2 cross. With these cows, you took out this specific protein out of the milk that the cow produces naturally. It just naturally does not have this protein, and a lactose intolerant person can consume this milk and have no problems whatsoever.
Very cool. Well, that's good that the milk production is getting into that, because there's what I would consider, and maybe you not want to talk about this, but you have competition out there with some of these other kinds of milk.
You do, when it comes to soy and almond and all these different types of things. You can drink it if you want to, but you're not going to get that true benefit that if you're going to get from regular milk, because regular milk, you have your calcium, and it's pretty much called nature's perfect food because it's got everything you need, and it's very beneficial to the body when it comes to health.
Very good. Well, we could talk all day, and I would love to get a tour of your barn sometime. Maybe in the summer when it's a lot warmer than it is today.
A lot warmer.
What time do y'all start milking, and y'all milk twice a day?
Yes, sir. We're twice a day, and we milk at 3 o'clock and 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning, get done milking. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you milk that afternoon also.
About how long does it take y'all to milk your?
If we start at 3, we are pretty much done about 7 right now. Because right now we're milking quite a few head versus when we are during the really hot months.
Sure. Wow. Well, that's a very interesting thing. You see more and more of these in some of the local grocery stores. You see some milk that's come straight from the farm, supposedly in the glass jugs and all that. Maybe you can explain a little bit about that. And I don't know any of those name brands, but there's some somewhat local. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I know probably a real local one here is Hatcher's.
I've heard of it.
And then you have Sunrise. They're a little bit more east, but I know you can get it in some stores here. I think it's a very unique thing. It fascinates me, but I know the cost that it takes to get into that, and it's unreal, the cost. I've seen these dairies that sell their own milk in Tennessee, Indiana, and Wisconsin. And just from going from these 3 states, it's unreal. And even looking at them in Kentucky, that's kind of close by, I love it because, they do have to follow the same regulations, but it provides them with a new source of income and also agritourism. So that's really helping the agriculture by getting some farms getting into that here and there.
Wow.
I've always been fascinated with the dairy industry, and when I was your age, I really was. And it's very interesting to see that you have that passion. What is your plans for the future?
My plans for the future are they're unique. Not many people think about the route that I am. I'd love to go be a large animal veterinarian. I love doctoring cows. I think, even though it's a bad time to say you have to doctor a cow, but I love watching them get back to health and back on their feet. And I've been wanting to do this since I was young, but I want to stay in the dairy industry. The dairy industry is my passion. It's my love. It's in my blood. I can't get out. I know in today's market, we may not be milking by the time I get out of college, but I'd still love to keep breeding Holsteins. I'm a Holstein breeder. I've won awards for it. I just want to continue that path because that's just what I would really love to do.
Well, that is a very interesting thing. You have Holstein cows, and there was a farm, Bayless Dairy. They had what kind was it?
Brown Swiss.
Brown Swiss, and then you have Jerseys. Let's talk about those three different cows. Can you tell the people at home what the different? Well, first of all, the Holstein's black and white. I can do that one pretty easy. Let's talk about the Brown Swiss. It would be brown.
Brown Swiss is brown. They're all shades of brown. I've seen them from a really light brown to almost nearly black, gray color. So Brown Swiss, they're big. I like to think of them more of a rough structure. Depends who you are. Everybody likes to see a dairy cow a little bit different. I'm more of a big, broad dairy structure kind. While they're just to me, they look more of a rough structure. But they are actually pretty good at milk production. They rank about second. They're, like I said, they're brown, known as the big brown cow. They are not really outstanding when it comes to just milk production, butter, fat, like some of the other breeds. They're just kind of a breed that's in there, kind of different. They came from Switzerland. There's not much really uniqueness about a Brown Swiss.
Okay, let's talk about a Jersey.
The Jersey, smallest structure, probably one of the nicest of the dairy breeds. I don't have them, but
you say they're nice cows.
They have to have the sweetest personality of them all. They're so little. They're pretty great. They are lowest in milk production, but they're highest when it comes to butter fat.
Where do you see those cows? They're not around here much.
They're around here some, but Jersey, they're kind of overlooked a little bit just because they're looked mainly for butter fat, but you don't really see a full herd of them. Although I know there is some here in the state where they milk nothing but pure Jerseys, but they're just so small and they have such a low milk production that's kind of hard to keep up with those.
So the one you know all about is the Holstein. Talk about that real quick.
So the Holstein's black and white, big body, big structure. We also have them in red and white now with their recessive trait and breeding.
Wow.
And their highest milk production. They produce more milk than all the other dairy breeds. They do have the lowest butter fat, but their milk production is what carries them to the top with their frame structure and their frame size. I love their personality. Each one of them is different, but when you can get your hands on one that's kind of got that really bad personality to her, but I just love working with them because all of them's different, none of them spotted up the same, they're all unique.
Very good. Well, I wish you luck in whatever you do, and if you're a large animal vet, that's going to be good for your family farm for sure, and hopefully you can stay connected there, and you've got a few more years in school and then into college, so hope to see you around, and I guess I'll see you at Dairy Day. That's always in
Yes,
June.
sir.
June's Dairy Month, and it's always a big tradition for our community, and I know that makes you proud.
Yes, sir. I love going to Dairy Day. That's one of my favorite months.
You've been going ever since you was brought in the world, I guess.
Since I was little, I've always been at Dairy Day.
Yeah, me too. So we have a lot in common. It's very nice to meet you and very nice to talk to us about dairy industry. As you know, we could go on, but y'all have let's talk a little bit before we go. Competition, you do dairy showing. Talk a little bit about that, and do you have anything coming up?
So I'm very competitive in the show ring. I love showing. I'll go from state shows to county fairs to North American shows. When it comes to 4-H, I've always been doing dairy judging since I was in the 4th grade. This year was my first year to compete as a senior level 1, a senior high team as a freshman, and I actually cannot compete in dairy judging anymore for 4-H because I went one state, I cannot compete in state, and I moved on to nationals, and I competed at the national contest in Madison, Wisconsin on the color shavings at the World Dairy Expo. Unforgettable experience. Loved it. So I cannot do that competition anymore 4-H. However, I will continue in FFA where I do dairy handlers. Once I get knocked out of dairy handlers and cannot compete in it anymore, I'm going to transfer and do dairy judging. Then I compete in ag issues where we will be heading to state in our ag issues presentation. And then I do
That's what y'all did for
others.
Rotary, right? Ag issues.
Yes, sir.
And that's when I realized I couldn't stump her. And I really wasn't trying to stump you. I'm more fascinated with the whole industry and the whole concept of what all you're doing. And what about Wisconsin? I guess you got to see a lot of dairies there, right?
It was. We toured some dairies here and there. I loved it. I got to see robots work. I saw the newest robot come out on a test run at World Dairy Expo. Amazing. I stood there and watched the whole process. I loved it. In Wisconsin, we saw a farm, Sassy Cow Creamery, that made their own milk and cheese and ice cream. It was great because they had organic dairy and an unorganic dairy, and you could watch them on a carousel. Wisconsin was the best experience, and I've always wanted to walk on the color shavings for dairy judging.
What's color shaving?
It's where most shavings are just white, but up there every year's a new color. And this year they were brown because the theme for this show was the next frontier of the dairy industry. And since I could get in 4-H, I knew I wanted to go to Wisconsin and compete national dairy judging. And since I was able to do that, my first year of qualification was amazing. The next day after that, I was able to sit in the stands and watch the complete Junior Holstein show, where I saw some of the best cows in the world. And that was just an amazing experience that's unforgettable. And I got to spend it with my team members that I've known forever. So it was a really great experience.
Well, I'm proud for you. I'm proud of you too. And
Thank you.
I wish you the best in the future. And you have so many great experiences that, a lot of people your age will never, ever see. And so I'm proud of you, and I wish you well in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've had Maggie Dunivan on the show this morning, and we've been talking about the dairy industry and agriculture, and such a fascinating young lady, and wish you well. Thank you very much. I'm Don Counts. I will see you back in here next time.